We will go ahead and get started with today's training. Again, thank you all for joining to learn a bit more about OmegaOne and what you need to do to get your OmegaOne account ready for officer transition. My name is Heather McLeod, and I am with Omega Phi's professional services team. I have with me today Sarah Beth Russell, who is also on our team. Again, we are with Omega Phi, and Omega Phi is the company that hosts OmegaOne and several other products. So before we dive into the OmegaOne training, I did want to give you just a bit more information about Omega Phi. We've been around for 30 years, and we provide technology solutions to help customers manage their finances, streamline operations, recruit new members, communicate with their members, such as what many of the features are in OmegaOne. We work with 57 different headquarters, as well as local chapters and house corporations, IFC and Panhellenic councils, and alumni associations across more than 650 campuses. And we remain the industry leader when it comes to technology in the fraternity and sorority community. We are actually based out of Columbus, Georgia, and we securely process more than $1.1 million per day for our customers and have securely processed more than $4 billion since we started in 1992. We are deeply committed to serving and promoting and advancing the fraternity and sorority experience, and we aim to make raving fans with every individual or group that we work with by reaching and innovating and acting with agility. And we challenge ourselves to dream big every day and to help others achieve their own dreams. So to say that we're passionate about what we do is an understatement, and it's this passion that has encouraged our clients to trust us to do the heavy lifting so that you can focus on your mission and having fun. So again, just a little bit about Omega Phi. Before I turn it over to Sarah Beth, I do just want to make sure that you all know how to submit questions to us throughout the training. So you should see a little window there on your screen, a little question box. Let's test that out real quick and make sure that you are able to submit questions. So if you don't mind, just in that box, type in your name and chapter so that we can see, make sure that you're here and that you hear us okay and that you're able to submit a question if you have one during the training. So just right there in that question box, you can just type in your name and chapter real quick, and let's make sure that those are coming through. All right, it looks like those are coming through. Thank you very much for testing that out for us. I can see those coming in. So again, if you have any questions, Sarah Beth is going through the training. Feel free to type those in there, and I will be glad to answer them for you. All right, Sarah Beth, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather, for that introduction to Omega Phi and our products. So today we're going to be looking specifically at OmegaOne, and for the agenda today, we're going to be going over a few different things, mostly in regards to the transitioning season with new officers coming in. So we're going to go through updating your users, both how to add any new users if you need to, as well as updating admins for those who need to have correct access with the changes coming. And then we'll go through the admin menu features, specifically looking at clearing out data from the fall to move into the spring, for those new officers to have a clean slate to start with. And then we'll look at email and text communications and how you can most efficiently use that to keep your members updated during this time. And then we'll have our Q&A. So having a successful transition for your officers can be broken down into 3 phases. Updating your user access, utilize your admin tools to clean up your OmegaOne before the transition, and then keeping users informed with mass communication. So we'll start by looking at when you first log in. This is your wall, kind of similar to a Facebook wall. this is what you'll see in any recent announcements or events, polls, questions, anything like that will be posted to the wall. So once you are in, to update your users, we're going to go to the admin tool icon over here, which is the screwdriver and the wrench, and we can go to manage users. So for most chapters, the way that this is going to work here is when you are on this screen, you'll be able to add your users and update their member type and access level. So as you can see here, these drop downs allow you to change the member type, and then the ones next to that are the access level. So if anybody is moving out of position and needs to drop down to normal, you can update that, and then you can update anyone else who needs to move into a position. Now with your different positions here, the main difference with the positions, the access levels are going to be what the users can see. So for your normal members or users, they're going to have access to only member-specific options. They're not going to have access to this admin tool here, but they'll be able to see all these other menu options, be able to view their points, the calendar. They can look at the contact list and do face quizzes. All of this stuff is going to be available to them, just not this admin tool. And then for your officers, those officers are going to have access to the same member-specific menu items as the normal access level members, but they'll also have access to this admin tool. They'll also have access to this admin tool here, but they will not necessarily see all these options. So all of these options you see here are going to be administrator specific. Officers, they will be able to manage the communication related features, but not member management features. So that'll be the difference, and they just won't see those within their menu. And then again, the administrator, they're going to have access to all of that, as well as all of these menu options as well that the normal members have access to. Now, like I said, for most chapters, this is where you will edit those members. If your national organization has a specific integration, then you will need to make sure that you have your members updated within your national organization database, and that information will pull into OmegaOne. But for the most part, everybody will come here to make those updates. And you can also look at editing members here if anybody needs to be deleted or muting communication. You can update your members to alum who are maybe graduating. And then if you have not already added new members that came in from the fall, you were waiting until they were initiated, you can add those here. This is to add users individually, or you can add multiple users with this option. Click here to download this template, and it will outline what information is needed, and then you'll upload that and we'll get your users added into the system. So this is how you will manage your users here. Okay, moving on to the other admin features, we're going to kind of take a look at how you can best utilize those moving into this transitional season. So here we have our manage points possibilities. If you guys use a point system, you'll probably have a lot of information within this from the fall. So if you are wanting to clear that out for spring, you can look at doing that under this menu up here in the upper right hand corner. And you're going to want to look at your settings. So here is where you set up all of your information for your point system. So if you want to take care of that before your new officers come in to make that a little easier for them, then you can go through, choose what groups need to be tracked for, make sure you're setting that up the same way that you had it for fall. This is going to be if your points possibilities are the same for members and new members, if you track for both of them, and then your percentage settings. So how those are tallied up, you can have them automatically done, or you guys can set the number depending on how many points you require to be earned throughout the semester. And then you can update your appeal setting. This is going to be important with the change. So when members appeal their points, what administrator that is going to notify. So if that administrator is changing, you'll want to update that. This, of course, will have to be done after you update your users. And same with new members if you track points for them. And then here is where you can clear all points. So if you do this, this is going to clear all your points possibilities for the semester. So if you are ready to do this, you can, and you can say, yes, I'm sure. But my suggestion before doing that is make sure you pull any reporting you need. So right here, you can export all that information. You can either do that here by the points, possibilities, and categories, or you can do it by person. So if you want to export those, you can. And so you can look at the points breakdown specifically and export that if you want to use that report as well. And this will kind of just set you up to go ahead and clear that out. So make sure if there is any information you're wanting to save from this semester that you are pulling that before you clear that. And then additionally, if you want to come in and add your points possibilities, once you add your categories, those won't go away once you clear it, but you can add more if you need to. So if you want to add any additional categories, you can add that under the menu, and then you could add points possibilities under those specific categories if you already have some that are ready to be inputted for spring. And then the same thing with before you clear, if you want to export any of your appeals that occurred during the semester, you can look at, I would suggest having any approved or denied to before the semester close out, not have any outstanding, and then you can pull the export version of all your resolved appeals as well if you want to have that documentation. And then moving on to your announcements. This is basically going to be where you can add anything for updates. This will post to the OmegaOne wall. So anything you want to put in here, you can add attachments. And then you can also, if the attachments is going into your file upload, you can choose a specific folder that will go into. So for example, I think we already have one in our files, but if you wanted to add a list of members who are available for nomination for positions, then you can upload that file since that changes year to year, and then put that under whatever section. Here we've made an officer election section, and then upload that. This will publish to the wall, and you can also have it alert with an email and text message or a push notification. So in order for the push notification or text to work, make sure your members have their notifications updated, and they can do that under their My Profile in the top right-hand corner. When they go to look at that, that will show, well, here, we can go ahead and look at that, their OmegaOne preferences, whether or not they receive text messages, announcements, that sort of thing. So make sure your members have that updated, and then that way, when you guys are sending this stuff out, they will get that information. So with the managed study hours, this is another one that will probably need to be cleared out before spring semester starts. So if you are ready to do so, you can export the information as needed. You can do by person. You can look at this by person or by study location. When you're doing your clearing of your settings, these will not go away. So if you have specific study areas already established, then don't worry about those. They'll still be there when you clear the study hours. The only thing that's going to clear out is the recorded number of study hours. So the way you would look at that is under your settings. Here you can see whose hours are tracked. So make sure if nothing is changing that you are updating this accordingly, the start of the week. And if you want to remove any blocked hours, this is hours that nobody's allowed to record study hours. So for example, if your chapter is at 7 p.m., nobody would be studying at that time. You can block out those hours. But here we can clear all study hours, and that will just reset that clock for everyone before spring occurs. And then you can also go in and update each individual member to have set study hour goals per week. That'll probably be something done by your new officer if they are planning to track that information or have a minimum for that. And then if we look at this weekly breakdown here, this is where you can export that information before you clear out those study hours. And additionally, same with the excuses appeals. If you want to see any appeals that were put in during the semester, you can look at that here and just make sure any current appeals that are outstanding are replied to before the semester ends. Now we'll go to manage calendar. So for your manage calendar, if you have any officer election related events that you want to put in, or any events to close out the semester, then you can add those, same as any other events that have been added throughout the semester. And we can look at that. So, you put in your title, your description. You always have the ability to say who is visible to. So if we want to include new members, or if your new members have already been initiated, you may not even have any new members listed. You put your time and date, and then you can pick your event color. If you guys need to or if you guys want to color code your calendar, this is a great way to do it. You can, under this color settings up here, this is where you can label your different colors, and that way when you're looking at the calendar, you'll know that this dark blue is for philanthropy or whatever it may be. And then you can also set your event check-in times. I'm sorry, your event check-in type. So if there is an event that is mandatory and people are going to be checking into that, you can choose different options here for what type of check-in they'll use. Location-based is similar to study hours in that you'll have a marker on the map where members, once in that location, will be able to check in. Passcode, this one will generate a passcode to be distributed that members can use to check in. And then the QR code, and admin will have that able to be pulled up on their phone, so members can come see that particular admin or officer and scan to get checked in. And then this is a good way to keep attendance for any of those events as well. And you can link them to points possibilities. Also, you can allow excuses to be submitted or not, depending on, again, if that's something that needs excuses or because it is mandatory, then you can allow them to be submitted. And again, like most announcements or anything within OmegaOne, you can alert people with different forms of communication. So you can choose how those are going to go out, and you can set a reminder for calendar events as well. So you can have one go out immediately when it's created, as well as set one to go out prior to the event, a little closer to the time. Under this manage excuses, if you are allowing excuses to be submitted for events, then this is where you'll look at that. We don't have any pending ones right now. So with that transitional season, want to make sure that you clear out any of the excuses that are outstanding. And then you can also look at the resolved ones. If you have, if you have any outstanding ones, when you go to approve or deny it, that member will be notified accordingly. And here you can export that and look at the settings. So this will probably need to be updated with any transitions, who is going to be notified when excuses are submitted, as well as once you have everything updated, you can clear all resolved excuses if you have exported that and you feel you are good to go for the upcoming semester. For managing your files, this is where you can keep your information up to date to keep your members informed. So earlier when we were looking at the announcements, talked about uploading a file to then post on the wall. Here you can see this is where those fall into. So here we have our members available for nomination, as well as the different officer descriptions. So any information you want to put in there relative to that or anything else you can update. You can make sure your individual chapter bylaws are within here. You can have your minutes for each chapter meeting, as well as any recruitment material. So you can also kind of clean this up. So if there's anything in the recruitment folder that is pertaining to fall that you want to go ahead and is no longer useful or needed for spring, you can kind of clean that up and delete any files for moving forward. And then you can add files as needed up here. So this is how you would add the file. You can also make that file password protected if need be. And you can add it to a pre-existing folder like these here, and then alert your members once you have uploaded that file. And then this is how you can add any additional folders. So if you need a new folder, such as one for maybe like formal committee or something like that, whatever that needs to be, you can add that folder for files to be uploaded into. And there's not a clear setting on here because more likely than not, most of your files aren't going to change too drastically. So like I said, if you need to clean up anything, you'll be able to go in and edit those things individually to clean up this page. This particular admin tool, managing your questions and polls, this is a really great way to get out information quickly and collect data on that. So as you're going into this season, wrapping up the semester, any outstanding things you need to take care of, you can always submit a poll to be answered by your members. So you can make that a quick vote or not, and then you can put in your question, put a short little question name so people know what that is. You can add files to that, and then you can figure out how you're wanting people to answer. So you can kind of customize that based on multiple answers or not, and then you can set preset answers or do open text. So it's pretty customizable about how you can set that up, and this just really allows for information to get put in quickly so you can get that out to your members and you guys can get that back quickly in order to be able to move forward with whatever you need to. So if you need to figure out what times are best for officer interviews, you can send out a poll for that and be able to kind of get a general consensus without having to wait for the next chapter. So this is just a good way to get that information out. And then lastly, we're going to look at your emails and text. Groups kind of go with that. So we'll look at this first, and then we'll go into managing your groups and kind of what that looks like with the email and text. So your email and text communication is just really a great tool to keep in touch with your members and get information out to them. This is going to be able to just keep everybody in the loop. So you can put any information you need to with the emails, you're going to have a little more wiggle room with being able to add files, make that a little bit more dynamic. And then you can send it now, or you can delay that send depending on when that information needs to go out. And then here you can dictate who that reply email is to and choose who sees that message. So this is going to be where the groups come in. You'll be able to manage groups specifically for certain things. So if you have a specific officer election committee and you're needing to get information out to them, you can just send it to them. You can just send something to admins, or you can just send something to your new members, or you can select all your members and be able to get it out to everyone. Now, if you're looking at text messages, you don't have quite as many options. You just have the line item. So this is better for something that is just a quick burst of information that needs to go out, but you can still elect what groups you are going to send that to. So depending on whether or not you need a little more information or if it's just a quick message to go out, is kind of best for deciding if it should be an email or a text message. Now, with looking at managing your groups here, you can add a messaging group accordingly. So for any type of committees or any smaller subsets of groups that need communicating with, that not everybody necessarily needs to get that communication, you can add a messaging group, and then you can choose the settings on who can join, who can send things, and how people respond, where that's going to go. So this is where you will update that, and then you can manage your member list here. So if you were to create a new group for a committee, you can look at all your members and adjust accordingly to who needs to come in and out of this group. So this list over here is what that group looks like. If you need to remove some people from it, you can, and then if you need to add people, you'll just pull them over with this tool, and then you can just add the messaging group accordingly. And you can also manage these groups. So these are going to be automatic. Your administrators are done by access level, and same with officers. And then your member status is going to dictate who is in your alum, members, and new members group. But any groups that you make, you can edit them and update your member list at any point in time. Okay, and that is everything within your admin menu. So to wrap up, before we get into question and answers, if you ever have any questions about the system and you're trying to figure something out, you can always click this Get Help button up here at the top. This is going to take you to our knowledge base where you can type in a question, and any related articles to that will pull up to help you figure out what needs to happen within the system. So if you're looking on how to add your new members, anything like that, you can type that in and it will bring up an article to help you out. Now, if you've already looked at this and you can't find what you need, you can always reach out to software support by submitting a request. And here's where you can submit that. So once you click your option, you will see all of these fields pop up. Make sure you're putting as much information as you can when you are submitting that request. That way they're able to best help you out. But this is going to be a great way to get in contact with them and again, give them as much information as you can. You can attach files on here as well. So if you have a screen grab of maybe an error message you're getting or something that you're unable to figure out and you want to put that in there to kind of give a little more context, that's a great way to help us help you a little better. Okay, and I will now go ahead and open that up for Q&A. Heather, if you want to take over for that, have any questions come in?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Sarah Beth. So I think that we have answered all of the questions so far, but of course, feel free to submit some more if anybody else has any within the next couple of minutes. A couple of things before we close it out for today. Sarah Beth has up on the screen there how you can get help. So as she just showed you, you can go into our help center and type in whatever your questions are, and that should pull back some articles or videos for you. Of course, you can always email us at softwaresupport@omegaphi.com if you're not able to get your questions answered in the help center. And then just as a reminder, I know Sarah Beth just went into the details of how to do so, but before you all have the transitions for any new officers, it's important to go through all of those things, make sure that you download or pull any reports that you need, and then clear out any of that information that new officers or administrators do not need to see. And then, of course, make sure that when new officers are elected, that you give them the access that they need so they can get in and take over on their new roles, and also so that they can start receiving communications from us, because later this month, after Thanksgiving, we will be hosting another webinar for new officers to ensure that they get the training that they need from the beginning and feel comfortable and know how to use OmegaOne. So watch your inboxes and feel free to forward that on to any new officers. And then, of course, reach out if you have any questions or need help with anything. So I think that will wrap us up for today. We appreciate you all attending our webinar, and let us know if we can help in the future. I hope you all have a great afternoon. Thank you.